1967, a group of hunters stumbled across a strange creature in the forests of northern Minnesota.
Just when you thought we dug up every strange, offbeat, or forgotten gem from 1970s television, turns out we barely dented the weirdness vault. Because if the comments on our last video taught us anything, it's that the 70s didn't just give us weird TV, it gave us weirdly unforgettable television. From unsung sci-fi to unexpectedly gritty family dramas, this next batch of forgotten shows is guaranteed to unlock a memory or two, or maybe introduce you to a classic you missed the first time. Gemini Man. Okay, from our last video, it seems like everybody instantly remembered the $6 Million Man. Well, here's one to pick your brains. Do you all remember NBC's lesser-known cousin, Gemini Man? That show was the invisible techie sibling that everyone who saw it just loved. It even came complete with a glowing digital watch that let secret agent Sam Casey vanish at will. If you were a 70s kid, that glowing watch was probably your dream gadget. Now for you 2000s kids, that was our Omnitrix. Now, before you assume it was all about invisible shenanigans, this show had an insane twist. Sam could only stay invisible for 15 minutes a day before risking permanent molecular instability. I mean, talk about a sci-fi countdown clock. Bringing it to life, Ben Murphy played Sam with laid-back 70s swagger. Just imagine James Garner if he had a sci-fi gadget obsession, and you should get the picture. Perhaps the best thing about this show was the fact that his high-tech watch wasn't just for show, it was his lifeline, stabilizing his invisibility after a radiation accident. Despite lasting just 11 episodes, Gemini Man's glowing watch became a cult icon, influencing toy design and gadget envy for decades. Throw in Dr. Abby Lawrence, the brainy scientist monitoring his condition and maybe stealing his heart, plus a no-nonsense intersect boss keeping things real, and you've got a spy show with a serious twist. At its core, Gemini Man was pure 1970s charm. I mean, low-budget rippling air effects were used to show invisibility. Cheesy? Yes. Lovable? Absolutely. The show was so good that the glowing watch became a cult icon as kids everywhere begged for gadgets just like it. It influenced us to the extent we were out there making wild what-if invisibility missions with friends while crunching on Pop Rocks and sipping Tang. Gemini Man had it all. No one could deny that episodes like Smithereens, where Sam raced against time to protect a scientist while invisible, had that edge-of-your-seat vibe perfect for sneaking in late-night TV. And even though it lasted just 11 episodes, Gemini Man lives on as a camp classic, with cult fans trading VHS copies like secret spy dossiers. So tell me, did Gemini Man sneak into your childhood? What would you do with 15 minutes of invisibility? Holmes and Yoyo. Okay, this show was something else. You just had to see it. I mean a detective buddy comedy where one partner is literally a robot. How could it flop? Jokes aside, the show follows Detective Alex Holmes, who teams up with Gregory Yoyo Yoyanovich, an android cop who malfunctions at the worst possible times. It's basically what would happen if RoboCop met Get Smart, but way goofier. Produced by ABC, the show was a quirky mix of sci-fi slapstick and cop antics that lasted only 13 episodes. But those 13 episodes were enough to give us classics like Yo-Yo's printer stomach that whirred and spat out paper, or his magnetic feet that sent him crashing into everything from chairs to crime scene. And I mean, even the theme song was pure 70s gold. Play it, and you're instantly transported to shag rugs and lava lamps.
Got 4 partners in the hospital. Come on, Alex, you're a good cop.
By the way, who's my new partner?
Who could forget episodes like the pilot, where Yo-Yo saves Holmes by lifting a car and promptly blacks out? Or the last Phantom episode with that iconic disco chase thanks to Yo-Yo mishearing slang? It was a show for everyone. Kids loved imitating Yo-Yo's stiff walk, while adults got a kick out of the dry humor from Captain Sedford. Sure, it wasn't the best show out there, with Time magazine calling it one of the worst shows ever made, but its attempt to mash up sci-fi and slapstick comedy was wildly ahead of its time, giving us a RoboCop before RoboCop, only with more pratfalls and fewer explosions. Kaz. Now, this show was something you just had to see, and you couldn't miss it if you were into sharp legal drama with a rebel twist. Played by Ron Liebman, Martin Kaz Kaczynski was not your typical suit and tie lawyer. No, he was a Polish-American ex-con who earned his law degree in prison and brought his street smarts straight into the courtroom. This was what you would get if Law and Order met Rocky. Gritty, smart, and with a big heart. Kaz worked at a fancy law firm, but constantly clashed with his buttoned-up boss, Samuel Bennett, played by Patrick O'Neill, who was all about order and tradition. The contrast was simply electric. I mean, no one can forget the A Case of Class episode where Kaz defended an old friend from prison, exposing just how rigged the system was. It hit hard and showed Kaz's fierce loyalty, but more than anything, it reflected just how minorities viewed the judiciary system in a way everyone could feel it. Then there was The Slow Man episode that followed the story of a client with a disability that tested Kaz's patience and compassion. This was one of those rare moments where the drama really struck home. One weird thing about this show was that somehow every blue-collar dad loved Kaz's no-nonsense defiance of the man. The show felt like it was speaking for the underdog. It only lasted 23 episodes and squeezed into a tough Sunday slot against MASH, so it really didn't get the spotlight it deserved. However, it earned Ron Liebman an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama, proof that this forgotten gem packed a serious punch. But for those who caught it, Kaz remains a forgotten gem. If you want a dose of 1970s courtroom grit with a rebel heart, dig up some clips and hear that funky bass line again. I can promise that you'll feel it. Cliffhangers. To put it simply, Cliffhangers was chaos, brilliance, and pure 70s weirdness all rolled into 1 hour. Every Tuesday night, NBC gave us 3 shows in one: a mystery thriller, a sci-fi western, and a vampire soap opera. Yeah, it was weird. And true to the name, the 3 shows were all cliffhangers, all incomplete and all absolutely unforgettable. Stop Susan Williams had Susan Anton running from helicopters, dodging bombs, and digging through conspiracies that felt ripped from Watergate paranoia. Then suddenly you'd flip to The Secret Empire, where a U.S. Marshal discovers an underground alien city in the Old West. And bam, before you could catch your breath, we were in San Francisco, chasing a vampire college professor who, get this, is a vampire in The Curse of Dracula. Even the theme song was like someone mashed together The Twilight Zone and a drive-in theater trailer. It was a vibe. Every week was a ride. One moment you are rooting for Susan, sipping Kool-Aid in your PJs, gasping when she'd almost get blown up again, and the next you are sympathizing with a freaking vampire who taught ethics by day and seduced victims by night. To be honest, that man had range. But story aside, the show also had amazing visual cues, like the sepia to color trick in The Secret Empire was genuinely cool. Episodes like the premiere, where Susan escapes a rigged elevator, Donner faces off with Thorvald's guards, and Mary finds out her sister turned vampire, left us yelling at the TV and unable to wrap our minds around the story. And then just as it got good, bam, to be continued. No closure, ever. We just waited, and sadly, it never came. NBC canceled the show before any of the arcs could be resolved. The show flopped, sure. Up against Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, it never stood a chance. But for a moment, its triple feature, serialized format was bold and innovative, echoing old-school movie serials while paving the way for the binge-style storytelling we love today. Apple's Way. Apple's Way. Man, if you know, you know. I mean, this show was like someone took the Waltons, gave it a haircut, moved it to Iowa, and said, okay, now let's talk about real stuff. All it took was one episode, and suddenly you couldn't miss Sunday nights when George Apple packed up his big city life and moved the whole family to Appleton, Iowa. A small town with big lessons. created by Earl Hamner Jr., yep, the same guy who gave us the Waltons. This wasn't just about hayrides and Sunday dinners. Apple's Way snuck in deep themes like war protests, racism, and the environment, all through the lens of this clean-cut family just trying to do the right thing. The dad, George, played by Ronnie Cox, was this earnest architect who wanted simplicity but got a town full of drama. And Barbara, his wife? Yeah, she was the mom you wish you had. Firm but fair. And those kids? Yeah, they were always in something. Kathy marching against pollution, Paul getting in trouble for defending a friend. It was real. And that theme song? Just a few seconds in and you were already relaxed, already there, standing by a white picket fence with the sun setting over cornfields. I can promise you, if you cue it up today, you will get instant childhood vibes, especially if it's the tree episode where they tried to cut down this old oak and the family went full protest mode, or better still, the Christmas party episode with the snowstorm strangers and the kind of warm fuzzies only 70s TV could pull off. Sure, it didn't last long, airing just 2 seasons, but wow, did it feel like the right thing to watch on a lazy afternoon, cereal bowl in hand, with all the time to fill. It's a show that whispered, not shouted, and sometimes that's exactly what you need. Okay, time for some honorable mentions. The Amazing Spider-Man. We just had to put this on the list. After all, this was our first real glimpse of Spidey swinging across buildings on TV. Well, crawling slowly, but still. Nicholas Hammond was Peter Parker. The webbing, kind of weird. The stunts, wobbly, but at the time, you couldn't look away. I mean, remember the episode with the hypnotist villain? So campy, so good. It aired sporadically, but when it did, kids went wild. And that intro music was The Memories Are Made Of. It had that late 70s super cop meets disco vibe that against all odds somehow worked. Turnabout. A husband and wife swap bodies after making a wish. This was straight up Freaky Friday, but make it a primetime sitcom. John Schuck and Sharon Gless were trying to navigate life in each other's shoes, and it was pure chaos. It was gender role comedy on a budget, but more than anything, it was earnest and sweet. Remember the episode where the husband, now in his wife's body, was dealing with her snobby book club? Yeah, if you saw it, you probably have a smile now because it was pure fish out of water magic. Lucan. Following a kid raised by wolves trying to fit into modern society, this show was basically the Jungle Book moved into a one-bedroom in LA with a government agent hot on his trail. Lucan had glowing eyes when he got mad, super strength, and the most feathered hair this side of Sean Cassidy. Weird shows? Yes, but they stuck. And if you watch them, you remember. So which of these shows jolted your memory like a jolt from Holmes and Yoyo's magnetic circuits? Or maybe there's a long-lost gem we still haven't covered. Drop it in the comments and help us complete the time capsule. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to make sure you never miss another blast from the past. Until next time, stay nostalgic.